I'm Danisurname, and my favourite theorist of anything ever is Dr. Alfred Kinsey. Kinsey is most famous for the Kinsey Reports, the 2 books that came out that revolutionised the way that people during the 50s thought about sex. This was a time of very suburban, 2.5 kids, sex is missionary and vanilla way of thinking, and Kinsey came along and said, this is not how it is, this is not how people are having sex. So Kinsey did a bunch of studies and it really did revolutionise the way that people think about sex. Somewhere on the internet I've seen a quote by someone saying that Kinsey did for sexology the same as Columbus did for geography, which is, you know, saying something because fucking America. The other thing that Kinsey is most famous for is the Kinsey Scale, and if you're part of the LGBTQ community, you probably know what this is. It's also called the heterosexual homosexual rating scale because it is a scale from 0 to 6 from heterosexuality to homosexuality. So you've got your 0, which is heterosexuality, completely exclusively heterosexual, and you've got your 6, which is completely and exclusively homosexual, and then everything in the middle is the spectrum. And you can be anywhere on this line and identify however you want it all. It's a very, very basic scale of how gay or not gay you are. And I'm a big fan of the Kinsey Scale, I love it to bits. I really want a Kinsey shirt. You can get these shirts where it's got Kinsey on the top and then your number, and they're just fucking brilliant. I really, really, really want one. But you know, I'm skint as fuck. What's fantastic about the Kinsey Scale is the fact that it is this spectrum. It's very basic, but it is a spectrum. Because the first few numbers are clearly heterosexual and the last few numbers are homosexual, but it's not just the end numbers that are these things. And the numbers in the middle are clearly bisexual without just the middle number being. 0 and 1 are like the heterosexual and heteroflexible numbers. So you've got that option. It's not just box A or B. So now that I've explained what the Kinsey Scale is, how it works, I'm going to talk to you about my numbers on the Kinsey Scale. For most of my life, I assumed that I was straight because that is the way I was brought up to be. I was brought up to believe that I would get married to a guy and then I would have kids and live a very straight, normal, heterosexual life. And that didn't happen. So for a lot of my life, even though I was bisexual, I didn't accept it because I didn't know about it. I had no inkling that I had any attraction to girls. Looking back, I can see it the few times that I looked up girls' skirts and stuff. So because I thought I was straight, I was repressing a part of my sexuality. Which means that during my childhood, I would place my number as 2. Because though I was bisexual, I was leaning more towards guys because that is what I thought I liked. But then comes along Babe and I realise girls are pretty nice. And at the time that I accepted I was bisexual, my sexuality went a bit nuts for a while. Because I allowed myself to look at girls, I liked girls more for a while. So my number was clearly 4. So I went from being 2 to being 4 in a very, very short space of time. I just completely skipped over number 3. However, when I then became comfortable with both sides of my bisexuality, the men and women side, and everyone in the middle, and I came to accept the fact that I liked both completely equally, I then labelled myself as a 3. So whenever anyone asks, I am a 3. But I do fully believe that I moved up and down that scale as my experiences and opinions and life happened to me. You move up and down the scale. For most people, at least, I do think that sexuality is a moving target. It's not boxes and crap like that, it just moves around. Though I do think you stick with a sexual identity throughout your life, I think that moves around a lot and you can re-identify as whatever you want. It's a fluid thing, it's not set in stone necessarily, as you can see by my movement from 2 to 4 to 3. So whenever I'm talking to someone new about their sexuality, sometimes I use the Kinsey Scale to ask where they feel that they are right now or in the past or whatever, because is basic, so you don't have to have too much information. And you do have that option to be not exclusively homosexual or heterosexual. My girlfriend identifies as a 5.9, and technically you're not supposed to have decimal places, but don't let anyone define your sexuality for you. Put yourself on that scale. What are your experiences? How do you feel about people? How do you feel about the general population of female? How do you feel about the general population of male? Do you want to go to bed with them? Do you want to kiss them? Do you want to have nothing to do with them? Put yourself on that scale and then leave in the comment section below where you are. I am interested. Give me an ego boost, like, subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.